Welcome back to Saturday Social, where we are joined by Buvey and Abz. Abz is in the hot seat for this one, Joe, and we're talking transfers, mate.
Of course we are, absolutely. There's some transfer rumours that feel like they're taking some big strides forward this week, by the way, so we are probably going to discuss some of them within this section. Abz, you are bringing to the table 10 players you think could get big moves.
Yep.
Within the Premier League or from the Premier League, exiting the Premier League. They've got to involve a Premier League team, but they could get involved in a transfer. Let's start at number 10. Who do you think will go?
Yeah, it's not a ranking, but it's obviously the 10 players I thought could do with a move. First, Carlos Baleba. I think this guy is unbelievable. And the Brighton recruitment strategy once again hits. And I think it will be a big price tag again. What he provides is obviously covering so much ground in the football pitch, but at the same time, his ball-carrying capabilities are unbelievable. Like for someone who's playing so deep on the pitch, for him to be able to drive his team forward and get attacks starting so many times, and we see all the time whenever Brighton play, he is the one that is really the impetus in attack, especially in transition.
Yeah, most possessions won and tackles for Brighton this season. Do you think they'll keep hold of him, Buvey, or can you see him making a move?
No, I think any big club that can spend £100 million, a bit like Caicedo when he left to Chelsea, will come in and bid for him. Any club, Liverpool could do with him, Arsenal, any top. I'll take him at Man City if I could, but the squad's already too full. But he's outrageous.
And if he does go, Brighton don't need to worry, because they will no doubt find the next £100 million player. They'll find the best players.
So where do you think he is going to end up?
I was actually going to say, Steve, obviously we saw that Buvey's squad is still not going to be a lot of a space, I believer. But I think what he provides, maybe next to a Rodri there to control the game, someone to drive that ball forward. If you're getting rid of someone like Kovacic and maybe Mateus Nunes is out of favour, this is that ball carrying ability that Pep speaks so highly of.
Okay, let's get him up. Number 10.
Right, let's look at your next player then. Buvey might have to give you a hand with the placement of the magnets. So the next player you think is destined for a move this summer?
This is a rogue shout, I think.
It is. This is one, like, it's a personal one for me. I think Iliman Ndiaye is unbelievable, and the job that he's been doing for Everton. If you knew this guy's footballing story and where he started from, for him to be playing and being one of the most pivotal players for a Premier League team, Everton, I think David Moyes has famously not been in favour of a lot of attacking players, especially ones with creativity, and we saw that at West Ham at times towards the end of his time at West Ham. So I think Iliman Ndiaye could actually be someone for maybe a mid-table club that gets rid of the players that I might be coming up and talking about in a bit. They might need to replace players, and someone like Iliman Ndiaye could be a good player.
Contract till 2029 though. So what sort of fee do you think we're talking about? Where could you see him going?
Probably £40 million, but I don't think, if you're in Ndiaye, you're never going to get a bigger club than Everton at his current level. I don't think he's good enough for the Champions League right now. A couple more seasons, maybe he is.
Do you
Everton
see
are
that?
a big football club. I know they're lower end of the table now, but you talk about mid-table. Brentford, Palace. I'd rather stay at Everton.
Oh, like you mentioned, mid to lower table is probably where Everton are at right now. Potentially could get better under David Moyes, but I'm looking at maybe the Bournemouths, maybe even teams that are in between, not quite Champions League teams just yet. I think he has that ability to make that move. Maybe not a big club just yet, but somewhere just below.
Taking players like that. Everton. Yeah, okay, let's get him up. It's a brave shout.
That one.
It's a brave shout.
Bournemouth.
Trying to convince Everton.
From Everton! Buvey's face, by the way.
Who's in a better place right now?
No, but Everton there's a chance they could be above Bournemouth next season.
Do you think they're going to be above Bournemouth next season?
There's a good chance, yeah.
Trying to convince Everton to part ways.
Let's see how he reacts to your next one. He wasn't a fan of that one.
He wasn't a fan of that one.
That is a rogue shout.
Let's see if we can get Buvey on time.
Kudos, interesting.
His stats have not been good this season. I think it's 2 goals and 3 assists.
3 goals, 2 assists, 27 appearances, all starts.
Nowhere near good enough. And the whole the gimmick that United fans talk about a lot is that obviously we went to Ajax and we scoured Ajax and we said who can really be an option for us in so many different positions. We didn't look at Kudus, and maybe we looked at Kudus, but we didn't get Kudus in. The reason why I mention that is because he plays on both sides, and he has played on both sides for West Ham, and he's a great winger on both sides. But his, again, ball-carrying ability, especially in attack, we've seen some of his goals that he's scored for West Ham are unbelievable. Centrally as well, he hasn't quite been utilised centrally. I think at a bigger club, he is the type of talent that could be platformed to succeed so much, especially in central areas. You've seen him play right centre mid for Ajax at times, especially under Ten Hag as well.
Do you know
he's someone that can
where does he go then? Where do you think he'll go?
There's a couple of clubs out there, even someone like Spurs, I feel like he could do. I think he could do a job at Spurs as well. Spurs is obviously a bigger club.
It's a bigger club.
No.
There we go. Let's not have this.
Yeah, Smithy, you can't be
He's trying to wind me up, isn't he?
He's going to try to wind you up. But I could see him go to a bigger club just because...
West Ham won't want to sell him to Spurs.
Of course not. And West Ham fans, I'm sorry that you have to hear this. But I just think that he's shown that he's got that talent and ability to play for a big club.
Buvey, he does have an £85 million release clause, though. That's an awful lot of money.
he's not worth £85 million. I'm a big fan of him, but again, West Ham, I think at the moment is his level. They're a huge club. They're obviously underperforming with Graham Potter, but next season Graham Potter will have a fresh start. Obviously, they'll spend a lot of money in the summer, and they'll aim for the European positions. They'll look at Brighton, they'll look at Bournemouth, Fulham, what they've done this season, and they'll try and beat it. A bit like Everton next season with David Moyes, I think.
No.
I think he's got to stay at West Ham, surely.
Yeah, let's put him up. He's also heavily linked with Saudi, isn't he? So never say never for a move out there.
Next player. Now, this is a player that there's been a lot of talk about this player and a good season. You've gone with Semenyo.
Yeah.
So why have you gone with him and where do you think he'll end up?
Versatility in attack. He might not have the numbers that scream straight out at you from a stat sheet. Wow, this guy should be playing for a big club. But if you watch his performances week in, week out for Bournemouth, at times he is Bournemouth. Like, he is what is carrying them through games. And we saw that midway through the season especially. Team that he could go to, I actually think that he could supplement Arsenal. And I think, I know Umir said this as well, on the overlap as well. But the reason why I think the versatility, because I think Arsenal definitely need an attacker. Someone that's different, that can play in all three different positions. Because he's played centrally, on the right and the left for Bournemouth as well. He, I think, is ready for a big club.
It's quite interesting as well. You say on both sides. I think he's the most two-footed forward in the league statistically. He's taken more shots than any other Premier League forward. And it's like 54% with his right, 46% with his left. So that ability to play both sides is valuable.
Only Mo Salah's had more touches in the opposition box as well. So, you know, we've seen the positions he likes to occupy. Can you see him at Arsenal?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think you're spot on, mate. I think if you're an Arsenal fan, you want Isak, not Semenyo. Yeah. The reality is Isak, especially if they're in the Champions League, is basically ungettable. Yeah. He is outrageous, Semenyo. He really is. He's so versatile, so powerful. He could play down the middle for Arsenal. He's that good. You could change him into a striker, but competition for Martinelli, I think it's fantastic.
Okay, stick him up.
Get him up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Next, I'm not happy with the next one, Abz.
Sorry.
Why would any player want to leave the mighty Tottenham Hotspur?
You don't want me to get into that, Smithy, but listen, this is
Romero.
a player I rate really, really highly. He's actually spoken recently. I don't know if you saw the quotes recently, Smithy, and it might not make you happy, and the Spurs fans, about him saying, maybe La Liga, I haven't quite experienced the Spanish weather.
I read all those quotes in depth, in detail. What I would say is there was parts of that were slightly lost in translation because he was asked about the different leagues and how they compare. But there are quotes, and he has been linked with Atletico Madrid. You are right in what you're saying.
So, and the reason why...
Is that where you think he'll end up
I think he could go to Spain. And I think he is unbelievably underrated. I think one aspect that people don't talk about enough is his passing, you know. He is such a brilliant passer of the ball, especially from defensive areas. And obviously we know how much aggressive he is off the ball. We see he's a world champion. We can't forget that he's a World Cup winner as well. I think Christian Romero is ready for a big club.
Wow.
Sorry.
I am sat here.
Sorry. He's ready for that next step.
Is he a Champions League centre back? Are you saying a left?
100%.
Definitely.
100%, Buvey. I'm certain that
he's either booked or injured half the time.
He's a World Cup winner, mate.
Do you know what? I saw a really weird statistic this week that actually shocked me about Romero, is that with or without him, the Spurs points per game and win ratio is the same. Like, I think it's like 1.1
Is that due
points
to
per game.
Spurs' inconsistency, though?
But I think partly, but you know, the narrative has been so much built this season around if we get Romero and we get Van de Ven back, then it's a totally different side. I think Romero's a fantastic player, but his ambitions feel like he get that sense, don't you? He's very ambitious as a character.
But the one thing I'll say though is watching a lot of Tottenham as I do is when Van de Ven and Romero play, we're a completely different team. Our best defensive performance of the entire season was Frankfurt away. Frankfurt have got one of the best home records in the whole of the Bundesliga. We kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
That was, if you watch Romero and Van de Ven in that game, they were phenomenal. So there's been a lot of mitigating factors with injuries, with change of personnel.
Difficult to sign players from Tottenham as well, isn't it?
It's
always
difficult.
difficult.
But it's your call. It's your list.
It's like Prison Break. They can't get out.
Wow. You're cool, mate, and you're going to upset Bournemouth fans as well, by the way.
So just want to apologise as well.
I've seen
off the squad.
3 Bournemouth magnets coming up.
But listen, it's testament
Speaking
to
of good centre backs, though, what a player this boy is.
It is testament to how brilliant Bournemouth have been this season. So Bournemouth fans, take this as a compliment. But I think this guy is, like, we look at the most amount of touches and passes in the Premier League, dominated by centre-halves, right? So we know that's where football are going. And I think Pep is obviously a big part to play in that as well with the centre-halves, getting that many touches on the ball. This kid is unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree.
He could, and when, like, you can ask me, you can try and pin me down to one club. He could play for basically all of Europe's elite. He is that good. And we saw, obviously, before he went to Bournemouth, Juventus took him on loan at Roma. He scored the goal, the brilliant goal they did at Roma. Juventus decided to sell him at that point. That is a ridiculous decision by the Juventus.
So he has a £50 million release clause.
Oh, my God.
Everybody's interested. Where does he end up? Let's get a prediction.
If I have to...
Give us one club, both of you, actually, because this is a big talking point.
I actually think if I had my way with the Man City squad, there'd be less centre-halves in there than Buvey left in there. I would have taken him. I would have put him in Man City. I just think the fit is unbelievable.
Where do you think he'll go, though? Where do you think he will end up?
I think Liverpool could definitely do with it with a player in that squad. Maybe Arsenal, any top club. Obviously, he's been linked to Real Madrid. He said maybe he doesn't want to leave the Premier League. Whoever the top club is in the Premier League, Liverpool, Man City, whoever we consider that to be, he has to play for them.
I saw him with Bayern Munich, and I think that's actually quite a good fit for him. When you think of like the centre-backs they've used, the injuries problems they've had, and how they've chopped and changed that, I think that would potentially be a good fit. But I know there's talks about him potentially staying in the Prem.
Yeah,
but
Chelsea.
There's going to be a lot of clubs thinking of him, aren't there?
Chelsea.
Well, I think we can make faces about Chelsea, but clearly, in terms of how they've gone as a transfer strategy, it is targeting the best young players. They've got a centre-back issue with Wesley Fofana out again, injured. Not really found a partner for Colwill. It feels obvious to me.
But you want to see the best. I mean, this guy is so good. He could be the best centre-back in world football in a couple of years. With all due respect to Chelsea, they're not the project they were even 5 years ago with Thomas Tuchel. Yeah. You don't want to see him at Chelsea. You don't even know the manager could be at the start of next season. They might be in the Conference League again next season. We don't know. He needs to go straight to Liverpool, straight to Arsenal, straight to Man City, or even Real Madrid.
Yeah, let's put it back.
I actually do agree with you saying in terms of fit at Chelsea. It's just that it depends on what his ambitions are. Is he going to be going for a Chelsea team that are not there yet, or for a top?
I also think for him as well, just finishing, it's whether his next move is the big move, the Liverpool challenges, or it's the stepping stone in between because of his age profile. And you've gone with another Bournemouth player.
Sorry.
Another one heavily linked.
Wow.
Are you, without putting words in your mouth, is this Liverpool?
Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think the fit just makes sense. Robertson obviously declining. Tsimikas hasn't really taken that mantle up himself. Kirkis is a traditional fullback. You know what you're going to get with him. He's very, very strong in his draws. That's one of his strong points. And he also will bring you that creativity in the final third as well. Willing runner, has got the engine, typical fullback, and I think a straight will make sense.
Okay, tap in, put him up.
Easily for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Okay, next up.
I could have gone for a couple of players at Brentford as well, the likes of Damsgaard, even Wissa. 18 goals in the Premier League this season for Brian Mbeumo.
And 6 assists, by the way.
Unbelievable. And listen, obviously Liverpool are going to keep Mohamed Salah right now. Genuinely, if Salah was going to go, I was looking at this guy as a Salah replacement. I think he's that good.
So where do you think he could go?
As of right now, he could, obviously Liverpool and Arsenal are both taken up.
Newcastle?
Potentially, and finish. And if whoever someone else is in the list here stays at the club as well, that could complete.
I feel he's been underrated for years.
Agreed.
100%. Yeah. Why not Man United? I think it's a testament to Brentford, by the way, because Brentford have kept Thomas Frank, one of the best managers, I'd say, in Europe, pound for pound. So they create this kind of space for managers and players to develop and to evolve. So fair play to Brentford. I think they deserve to keep the guy. They've developed him into who he is now.
He's also got the second best shot conversion in the Premier League this season after, I think it's Chris Wood, which is testament to like his, how good he is in decision making as well.
And also, Brentford aren't necessarily. I think Brentford fans won't kill me for saying that. They're not necessarily the most expansive team. So he's sometimes dealing with situations where he hasn't got a lot of support. He's there driving his team forward.
You mentioned Man United, Buvey, a minute ago. This player heavily linked to the club this week. There are reports, really reliable reports, kind of linking them in an advanced way.
This just makes sense. I think this is another tap-in. Manchester United need goals. Manchester United need versatility. Manchester United need someone to play in that 9 position, but also potentially play in the 10 position. Influence on a football pitch. That swagger on the football pitch that needs to be playing at a big club. You see, at least even though sometimes his interactions with the Wolves fans, they're not very happy with it sometimes, he has got that level of arrogance and confidence that needs to be playing for a top team. And if we talk about how Manchester United players have to feel the weight of that shirt and how United players in the past have not been feeling the weight of that shirt and they crumble and their levels drop, this is a player that has that level.
Good fit for United, do you think?
100%.
Do you agree? Is that a good fit?
No, I don't agree, with all due respect, because if Man United are signing 7 or 8 players, then it's a fantastic deal on top of other players. But as a foundation, as a side, there's no goalkeeper there that you can rest your hat on. Yeah. There's absolutely none to win the Premier League title. Centre-back issues, full-back issues, they can't control a game of football, and they still don't have a number 9. Cunha's not a number 9. He'll get you goals, of course. He's done fantastically well. But they've got Højlund and Xerxes who haven't worked out. Ugart maybe hasn't worked out either. There's some bigger issues there than Cunha. Cunha feels like a luxury player at Manchester United.
But then I'd ask you the question this. If you are building a team, and you showed us the recruitment in the first segment as well, if you have an issue with goals, Manchester United's main issue has been scoring goals right now. We understand there are a whole host of issues at Manchester United right now. If that needs to be addressed, can Cunha help with that?
But I'm talking about the logistical issue of Manchester United. I don't think they can go out and spend £350 million in the summer. They need 3, 4, 5 players. I think there are more important players that Man United should be getting. Hoyson from Bournemouth is an example. I'd rather get a centre-back or a midfielder or even a goalkeeper.
Potentially.
Man United have a goalkeeper. It's been going on for years now.
Well, let us know what you think of that at home. Split opinion that, Cunha. By the way, 18 goals and assists for Wolves in the Premier League this season. Not bad. Finally, you've gone with Isak.
This is ridiculous.
Wow.
And obviously the question mark, naturally the question mark is going to be, are Newcastle going to get rid of him?
No.
Of course they're not going to want to, but they're obviously going to try and price out the big boys. It's on one of these teams to buy what is, for me, in my estimation, my favourite striker in Europe.
Yeah, no one's denying his ability, but if Newcastle get Champions League football, which they're likely to get, they've won a trophy, do you think he will leave then?
That's not necessarily the angle I'm looking at this. I'm looking at it from the perspective of these big clubs that require goals, the likes of Arsenal.
But Newcastle are a big club, aren't they? They're in Champions League. They've won a trophy this year.
It's not about saying that Newcastle... I'm saying they're a bigger fish. That's just the reality. I'm not saying that Newcastle are a huge club, a well-established Premier League club. But it's about Alexander Isak and his ambition.
But there's also the money aspect, isn't there? Like, it's going to cost a lot of money. So who can afford Alexander Isak?
The only way you can justify it to Newcastle United fans, I can't speak for them, of course. Real Madrid come in, £150 million. They don't have Mbappe, they don't have Vinicius, but they've got those players, so they're not going to sign him. Liverpool, if they were going to lose Salah, but they're not losing Salah. No, but I think Arsenal will be a bit of a sideways step. They're a bigger club than Newcastle United, but if Newcastle are in the Champions League with Eddie Howe, they just want a cup.
Isak wins Arsenal the league.
But Newcastle will be thinking...
Isak wins Arsenal the league, though.
But he'll be thinking at Newcastle, Eddie Howe 100% will be thinking next season, if we can get 2 or 3 in, we can win the league next season. No. That's what they'll be thinking. Seriously.
No, I agree. I think that project will be sold to him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he agrees to it. But all I'll say is that big clubs should be in and around 5.
Big debate. Alexander Isak feels like we debate him most weeks. Let us know what you think of that at home. That is Ab's suggestion of 10 players you think are destined for a move this summer. I enjoyed that. Good debate. Let us know what you think of that at home.